$1 million Bitcoin. That's what a guy named Balaji is saying. He has around 800,000 subscribers on Twitter. Very popular guy. Does have a lot of good things to say. I think he wrote a great piece on why we need Bitcoin. So I'm going to go over a little bit of his tweets. I'm not going to read all of it because it's really long, but just the premise of it. Okay, so he says they're printing $2 trillion to inflate the dollar. So they're potentially going to print $2 trillion to save the banking system. Okay, and that's the banking system, 17.6 trillion. So 2 trillion, that's just a start. Okay, and you know that will hyperinflate the dollar a lot more than it is. Keep in mind, if people don't realize the dollar is hyperinflating away, you should have checked out lumber and steel a year and a half ago. It was, I think steel was up 125% and then lumber was up 156% in 1 year. Yeah, crazy. That's hyperinflation. So here's what he says. So the banks are insolvent. We should have learned to distrust the bankers after the 2008 crisis. So that's kind of what I went over yesterday, that banks, you don't have to worry about these banks going under. In my opinion, they're just going to bail them out. We know their playbook. This is what happens, and they're going to create tons more inflation. Back then, they used complex language back in 2008. So yeah, it was really difficult to understand what the Federal Reserve was saying to bail out the banks. But they said they used complex language to hide the simple fact that mortgages were bad. And today, they do it to hide the fact that money is gone. Not in one bank, in all of the banks. So yes, banks are in big trouble if they didn't have the Federal Reserve to just print unlimited currency to backstop them. Next, we have regulators knew banks were insolvent, but they did not notify depositors. Very true. Why was the banking system, why was a banking crisis such a surprise? Is it really your job to diligence your employer's bank financials? Aren't you paying regulators to do that? Exactly. So regulators, obviously, we all know this by now, they don't have your back. They don't give a crap about you. You know, all those, you want to, a lot of people want, you know, these regulators to save crypto and protect them. They're not going to protect you. Instead, they're going to spit in your face. I promise you that. That's a guarantee. You can take that to the bank. That's probably a bad saying now because that's probably not a good thing to say anymore.
Take it to your Bitcoin wallet.
Yeah, take that to your ledger. All right, so they are lying about printing as well. The central banker who ran the euro literally said, when things get serious, you have to know how to lie. The entire banking system is lying to you about the solvency. They are trying to ensure you do not enter Bitcoin. That's kind of why you're seeing all these banks that are kind of crypto-friendly banks on and off ramps closing. And it seemed like a controlled demolition. As if you want to check out my video yesterday, I kind of explain why. So hyperinflation, it's a term that's thrown out a lot. It's hard to tell what hyperinflation is when it's beginning. You know, like, is it when lumber is up 156% in 1 year? Or is it when steel's up 126% in a year? I don't know. Tell me what your definition of hyperinflation is. But that's the dollar hyperinflating right there. Yes, remember the CPI doesn't include food or fuel. Doesn't include lumber either. That's just what the Federal Reserve will do to try to manipulate the public to calming them down, to not cause any panic. Lastly, this is the last one. I'm going to go over what he's missing here. They are trying to block the exits. Just as I said, the U.S. establishment just killed Signature and Silvergate because they banked crypto, right? They had something involved with crypto. They're trying to kill that. And I'm going to explain to you right after this why. Barney Frank noted that Signature wasn't even insolvent. It wasn't insolvent, okay? You getting that? They wouldn't even let Signature acquirers keep the crypto businesses. Yes, fortunately, there are plenty of those businesses out there, especially overseas as well. But here's what Balaji is missing big time. They're creating a banking crisis right here, just as what happened back in 1907 when JP Morgan decided to, say a couple things about his banking rivals to consolidate those banks to grab more power. Okay, this is what he did, and then they became much more powerful, and then that eventually led to the creation of the Federal Reserve in 1913. So what is happening now? Something pretty similar, like you have these huge banking oligarchs that are essentially grabbing all this power. A lot of people are losing faith in these small little banks. They are small little banks compared to JP Morgan. And they're, the Federal Reserve is going, you know what? We're going to protect these big old banks. Don't worry about it. Just put your money in the big banks. That's what matters, right? So they're going to get so much more power out of this. The Federal Reserve is going to grow bigger, and they're going to create their own CBDC that's coming out very shortly. I'm actually hearing that there are reports that CBDCs could be out within a couple months from now because there's a need for that, right? So you have the problem, which is the banking crisis that regulators didn't even tell anybody. The reaction, public freaks out, goes into giant banks. And the solution, what is that? CBDCs. You can't have a bank run with CBDCs, can you? So yes, this isn't good news. If you have Bitcoin going to $1 million within 3 months, that means the dollar is going to hyperinflate, really hyperinflate. So just to explain to you how real hyperinflation works is back in 1945, Hungary experienced prices double in 15 hours, okay? So it can be really fast, it's slow, and then boom, that's how it works. That's hyperinflation for you, and it doesn't reverse, you know what I mean? So there's no it's pretty hard to tame hyperinflation. I think there's been 56 counts of hyperinflation that I know of so far, and there's probably going to be much more in the future. So $1 million Bitcoin means hyperinflation, which means a lot of people can't get their Bitcoin because a lot of people won't be able to get paid, won't have fiat on and off ramps, and it's going to hurt people as well because people rely on these paychecks to feed their families. So yeah, this is pretty rough, especially that the Federal Reserve and regulators are working so hard against the citizens of the U.S. and, ECB as well. But I'm focusing right now on the U.S., but they know how hurt that U.S. citizens will be if they can't get their Bitcoin, and that's what they want, and that's why they want to absolutely destroy people's lives over there. This is Central Banking 101. That's what I have today. I know it's not the best news, but if you do have Bitcoin, keep it on a hardware wallet. Do not keep it on a centralized exchange. And if you want to see a hardware wallet that we use, the link is below. It's called the Ledger. So that's what we use, and we really like it. Anyways, that's all I have. Please like and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon.